It's a night of showers and thunderstorms and severe thunderstorms that just rolled through my house. We'll take a look at the radar here in North Georgia. And of course, we've got tropical conditions up and down the eastern seaboard, which means I'm not alone. There are other places that are getting hit with some showers and thunderstorms, and we'll do a radar check in just a little bit. Plus, we'll take a look at the weather for the rest of the week and the weekend, and we'll take a quick look at the tropics. And that is all coming up tonight on the Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast, which is brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system. Join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The link is on the descriptor to this podcast. Use that coupon code, Joe Rayo.
Which is summer 2024, Joe Chiaffi.
That's right. And if you use that coupon code, you will get
You'll get 10% off and a guarantee that you will not lose your electricity. Well, maybe not the guarantee, but
no.
10% off.
Well, I have the peach tree radar up, and you'll see that the row of severe thunderstorms that has moved through North Georgia. I actually am just now, they are just to my south. So I'm in the dark green area between the main line that's pushed on through this sort of bowing squall line and some heavier rain that's coming down from the northwest. So had a few flashes, did not lose power, and hopefully I won't, but we're on alert here, folks. If the show disappears, you'll know why. And there are four severe thunderstorm warnings in play right now across North Georgia, including my county, which is Union County. And then they continue up into southwestern North Carolina, where we have a severe thunderstorm warning up in one of the counties there, Joe. So it's guy. I'm sure I have to check. I have to check my Tempest weather station to see, what kind of peak gusts I had because it did blow away here for about 20 minutes.
Oh, I can imagine. And of course, we were watching here at the old homestead in Putnam Valley. In fact, I made a mention that the executive producer was very concerned about your well being. She was actually using Futurecast to determine the area of thunderstorms that were heading straight towards you.
Yes, and I thanked her for texting me.
Yes, and the only thing is that it meant that dinner was delayed a little bit because
Yeah, I mean,
she of
God
course cares
forbid.
more about she cares more about you than she does about me.
Well, God, heaven forbid that you should have texted me to let me know that there was a you know. Well, Joe, you never cared about me anyway. All you ever wanted was supper on the table and no responsibility.
Yes, that's right. Dinner, dinner.
Yes. All right, I got another radar to show, so I might as well bringing it up on the board there. Oh, see, yeah, I put that in there. I put the right code in, and it didn't come up, but now it has come up. There are two uh, bowing lines of storms across Pennsylvania at the moment, cutting across through the middle part of the state. And this is the State College radar, and Williamsport is now. It looks like it's just passing Williamsport, but that the storms between Williamsport and just west of Harrisburg look pretty fierce here as they're moving on to the east. And then there's another line in a little bit further to the west between Du Bois and what is that? Clarion, Pennsylvania, and Latrobe on the southern end, and probably Bradford on the northern end here. So I'm wondering whether there's some argument to be made that these storms may not exactly weaken as they start moving further to the east tonight.
Well, we do have, at least in my Facebook forecast, I mentioned that there is the potential for showers and storms after midnight. And the anticipation is that at least a part of that, what you're seeing in the central Pennsylvania, may make it all the way across into the tri-state area, but not till after midnight tonight. If you're going out this evening, if you live on Long Island or northern Jersey or the Hudson Valley, I think you're pretty safe. You go and have maybe a late dinner or see
On you,
on me. Yeah.
right?
You can do anything you want, but you won't have to worry about any wet weather until after midnight. And then tomorrow, I think the fact is that it'll be an ongoing threat. There's still a chance we may see a shower or thunder shower in the morning. Better chance as the atmosphere heats up during the midday and the afternoon hours tomorrow.
Yeah, there's it's like two smiles moving sideways here, but one in Pennsylvania, and then there's another line that's not so much on the northern end across northern Maryland, but the intensity really picks up in southeast Virginia, east of Richmond, and that part of the line is moving to the east. We've also got some stronger storms going on in upstate New York, in north central and northeastern New York. You see them there. And in Florida, well, hold on, I got to shrink this down here. Let me make this just a little bit smaller. Makes it easier for me to maneuver it. In Florida, we've got some strong storms inland, west along I-4, and then down west of I-75 in central and south Florida. Some big cells there, and then a couple of bigger cells that are up in northern Florida. But these couple of small severe thunderstorm warnings that are up in that part of the country. Also, another complex of heavy thunderstorms moving southeastward. There's a plethora of short waves here running around when you look at this because there's no real cold front. It's just these short waves in the flow that are rolling along, and you're getting these rather intense-looking complexes of thunderstorms. There's this one here in southern Illinois and southwest Indiana with numerous severe thunderstorm and flash flood warnings there. I also want to point out in eastern Tennessee, we've got several flash flood warnings that have gone up in that area. So this is the problem for tomorrow. You've got this one short wave that moves through tonight, and then what you're seeing in the Midwest is going to probably try to come through later tomorrow into tomorrow night.
Well, that area that you just mentioned across central Illinois, southern Indiana, and actually over southern sections of Ohio, northernmost Kentucky, that is a cold front. And that front is moving slowly but surely toward the south and east and will probably be pretty much on top of the tri state area sometime, well, at this hour tomorrow night. However, it's also going to be weakening a bit. So the potential is for showers and storms with that. Actually, what we're seeing right now, what you pointed out, Joe, in central Pennsylvania down into central and eastern Virginia, apparently is some kind of an upper level trough, a pre-frontal trough, if you will, out ahead of the main cold front, which is moving through those areas right now. That'll die out, and then the next thing to worry about will be the actual cold front, and that will be on the menu for tomorrow.
In the west, we've got a few cells in the Dakotas producing some severe thunderstorm warnings there, a couple of clusters. And we've got some clusters of showers and one or two embedded thunderstorms in parts of southeast Montana, and some light showers, it seems, moving through western Wyoming, back into parts of Idaho, and a little bit of action down in New Mexico, and in a small portion of southwest Arizona. Otherwise, the West Coast is dry, and there's no rain in Colorado. I mean, we've got these wildfires going on in northeastern California, and the others in Colorado that are problematic here. And I suppose the fact that there aren't thunderstorms is probably a good thing if they're not going to produce much in the way of rainfall, and you just wind up with lightning strikes. That could only make it worse as far as igniting wildfires.
Exactly. In fact, out west, they refer to them not really as thunderstorms or thunder showers, but as electrical storms, and they are always
Yes.
concerned that those bolts of lightning will indeed set off fire activity. It's the last thing that they need out in the western or southwestern United States at this time.
A lot of lightning strikes on the satellite loop. You see them in North Georgia and western North Carolina and eastern Tennessee. Also from the two lines in the one in Pennsylvania, the other one down in Virginia. It looks like there are more lightning strikes with the one down in Virginia than the one in Pennsylvania. And we've got a number of lightning strikes going on in north central and northeastern New York with that complex of storms there, as well as the one that is moving southeastward from eastern Missouri. It's like the thunderstorms are, just pass through St. Louis into southern Illinois and southwestern Indiana. The Storm Prediction Center still working on two severe thunderstorm watches. One over me in North Georgia and northwestern South Carolina and southwestern North Carolina. Then there's a gap, and then there's another severe thunderstorm watch with the thunderstorms in Illinois and southern Indiana and in Missouri. So we've got that. And we have a third severe thunderstorm watch up in north central Nebraska up into central North Dakota. And that was, by the way, those thunderstorms, they have an enhanced risk here that they put up from eastern Nebraska southeastward into southern Illinois, and certainly the eastern part of that enhanced area is making sense. Marginal risk runs up through Virginia into Pennsylvania, and also a marginal risk in upstate New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and on up into Maine. And tomorrow, we've got another area of enhanced risk tomorrow, and this one's in Iowa, eastern Nebraska, eastern Nebraska, and extreme southeastern South Dakota in the enhanced zone. The slight risk goes further north up into Minnesota and into North Dakota and further south into Kansas. The marginal risk pushing through the Ohio Valley and through the central and southern Appalachians, which includes me. And day three, we've got a marginal risk from the mid-Atlantic states northwestward through the Ohio Valley and the lower lakes, with a slight risk from the southwest Ohio and northern Kentucky across Indiana into eastern parts of Illinois. So severe weather seems to be front and center this week with all this moisture and these troughs that are, kind of moving along. And rainfall amounts over the next 7 days. And, Joe, this is one of those instances this week with all this tropical air and humidity and these short waves going by that, you can get into one of these thunderstorms and you can wind up getting clobbered with heavy rain. So it's basically, if you're east of the Mississippi, it's pretty much 3/4 of an inch to an inch and a half with some local amounts that could wind up being double the forecast. And you also have some heavy rains of several inches possible for much of Florida. And some of that is going to be tropical moisture induced. And I said tropical moisture, not necessarily tropical storm induced. And also in the southwest, we're looking at patches of a half to 3/4 of an inch across, cutting across Arizona in half, parts of northern New Mexico, and parts of southwestern Colorado. So uh, I didn't see anything going forward that would lead me to believe that we are going to see any relief in the humidity anytime soon, Mr. Rayo.
Actually, I thought that maybe early next week we might see it drop back into the mid and low 60s, dew point wise, which again, under normal circumstances, would be considered to be muggy. But when you consider what we're into now and what we will have to be dealing with in the days to come, low to mid 60 dew point actually would be a little bit of an improvement as we get used to or acclimated to this. But that would not come until sometime early next week at the very earliest.
Well, I'm just checking out the GFS here with the dew points, and pretty much everybody from the even just west of the Mississippi, but basically draw a line along 95 west, maybe 97 west. From there east, seems like everybody's got dew points in the 70s. If you go west of there, we're looking at 40 dew points, 30 dew points, and even dew points in the 20s in northwestern Colorado, Idaho, uh, western Wyoming. That's got to feel good, though. Can you imagine? That's got to feel pretty good to have dew points that low,
Yes,
you know?
yes.
Well,
I've forgotten what it feels like,
yeah,
actually.
well, we're not going to see it. I'm just looking here as we move into Monday. Yeah, I mean, there's minor dew point relief, minor. If you drive up north of I-90, head up in the Adirondacks, head up into the Green and White Mountains, and through New Hampshire and into Maine. That's where you get to see some dew points in the 40s and 50s. But yeah, mostly low 60s for dew points. And I'm just running it through the long range here. I mean, for some to see if there's anything real. And I was I had this conversation today with somebody about the fact that the GFS keeps trying to indicate these sort of intense troughs that get into eastern Canada, and it makes it look as if the dew points are going to drop down in a big way. But I quoting you, and I think it certainly is correct to say that these upper troughs are grossly overdone by the models, and then when you get to reality, they wind up being just these little patches of lower dew points, and I think that's what's going to happen going forward, unless there's some major change. I mean, here's one trough that drops down uh, uh, along about the next weekend, and it gets sheared out way to the northeast, and then there's another one that comes down, and this was one where the GFS was trying to show it coming down into the eastern part of the United States, and now it says no. The Atlantic Ridge builds, the Bermuda High builds into the Carolinas and Virginia, and you wind up with nothing from that, from as far as dry air is concerned. And I think that's what's going to happen. The models are going to maybe occasionally try and show some kind of nice dry air mass coming down, but you have to be highly suspicious of it. It just they just want to just shear off to the northeast.
And the people online, people in social media, jabbering away and talking about, oh, first week of August, there's going to be something that is going to be developing around the Florida Peninsula, and oh, people along the Atlantic seaboard will have to watch out for that. In fact, the Climate Prediction Center has, I mentioned this yesterday, the entire Atlantic seaboard up for a slight chance for excessive rainfall around the 6th, 7th, 8th of August, assuming that there is going to be some kind of a tropical system that develops in and around the Bahamas, for example, during the first week of August. So,
Yeah,
uh,
you don't even it may not even need to be a tropical system because you got the southeast flow from the Bermuda High coming around. So even if it's just a doesn't even have to develop into anything. I'm showing you the GFS tonight, which actually again tries to take this into the eastern Gulf of Mexico and then taking it southward and then west and west northwest, turning it into a hurricane when it goes by southern Louisiana. Uh, yeah, I'm suspect on on a tropical system uh, coming out of this tropical wave that's out in the Atlantic at the moment. And I think it's got to be to me it's like a prove it to me. And I'm just looking at the European from today for the first time, and I mean it's got something. It tries to it tries to make something in the northern Bahamas that has it off the southeast coast, but it's offshore on this run. So take your pick. I mean, does it, if it stays weak, it probably does wind up in the eastern Gulf of Mexico like the GFS has it. If it doesn't stay weak, then maybe it goes off the east coast of Florida. But I just think the upper air winds are not uh, going to be all that favorable. Take a look here, Joe, just to look at the this is the Atlantic view. This weekend, you have a trough that's dropping down into Ohio and Kentucky. Okay, and it sort of gets trapped. That trough lifts out, and then you got the ridge that's offshore, the Bermuda High. It just pretty much rotates around that and goes on out to the northeast. I just don't think the upper air winds are set up for something to come up certainly not to come up all the way up the east coast. Maybe
it
it's
may get up to, let's say, the outer banks of North Carolina, but then even a light west northwesterly flow over the northeast down to the mid Atlantic may very well deflect that system out to sea. So it
right.
may
Or
not.
if it stays weak, it could wind up just going into coastal South Carolina or coastal Georgia, like one of the runs did yesterday on the European, but it never really develops into anything much beyond a a minimal tropical storm. The only thing I will say is, just as an asterisk, given what happened with Beryl, where the models didn't exactly hit home runs as far as the intensity is concerned of that particular tropical cyclone, I want to be a little cautious about completely ruling out something strengthening beyond a weak system. I'm not saying it's going to become, something major. I'm just saying that maybe the models are showing a weak system, but in reality, we might have something a bit more than that.
Now we've only gotten up to B, right? The
No, we
we've
have to. The next one is D.
we
We
had
had we had
we
the
had
C
the C
storm.
storm.
Yeah, it was. I think it
Chris.
was Chris. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a tropical storm for 5 hours in the Southwest Gulf. You
That's
know,
true. That's true. The next one is Debbie.
that's correct.
So we'll see
That's
if
correct.
Debbie does Dallas or something. I don't know.
Or will it be a Debbie Downer?
Yeah, well, we'll see.
See, I went the cleaner route. Okay. Um, checking out. I mean, this is not exactly, rocket science here. We have shower and thunderstorm risk going on tonight. Shower and thunderstorm risk again tomorrow. The European wants to give a break on Thursday. Okay, I suppose it's possible from showers and storms, but then they come back uh, late Friday into Friday night, and then they're around later in the day on Saturday into Saturday night, and does the front get hung up, and we continue to see showers and storms around on Sunday. I think that will be one of the keys, along with whether there's a system off the southeast coast.
And yeah, so if you're planning to go anywhere this week or planning to do anything out of doors, probably as you just noted, Joe, the best day of the lot will be Thursday, although it will still be rather warm and rather humid. And then Friday, much of Friday should be dry, but it's also going to be hot. And then as we move from the end of Friday, as you just suggested, into the weekend, will be, and we're not talking about constant rain. We're not talking about a total washout, but we are talking about hit or miss showers and storms from late Friday into the Saturday Sunday period. If you happen to be unfortunate enough to be underneath one of those, you could get a pretty good soaking, albeit for a short interval of time. But more often than not, it will be dry, and again, will continue to be rather humid. Typical late July into yes, Thursday we enter the new month of August.
The Hurricane Center has no chance in the next 48 hours, but a 60% chance over the weekend that this system becomes a tropical depression. In fact, they say a tropical depression could form late this week while the system is in the vicinity of the Greater Antilles or the Bahamas. And we'll take a look on the satellite because there is a lot of dry. We were talking about this the other day about the fact that there's a lot of dry air out in the tropical Atlantic. So I'll bring up the tropical Atlantic loop and take a good look here. Now, you could first you look at this and you could say, okay, what are they talking about exactly? Where is this disturbed weather? And actually, if I'll add some more frames to it so there's a little more time. And I'll get my little marker here. So if you right here, if you look closely, while it's still visible, there is actually a low level circulation there. There's a little circulation of low clouds that is moving along to the northwest, but there's hardly any convection around. You've got some convection to the south of it, and then there's some kind of upper low here, well to the northwest, that's moving westward, that's producing some scattered convection. So at the moment, this is not a favorable scenario for cyclone development. Now, eventually, once this gets up past the Lesser Antilles and starts to move toward the Bahamas, we're going to be getting into a zone here where there isn't much in the way of wind shear. So that is, if it's going to develop, That's where it's going to happen. And the other thing I would point out, Joe, is I'm looking at this loop. It it looks like there's less in the way of Saharan dust today off the African coast. It was not, it was not quite as robust. There was this probably some, but it's not really all that much. So maybe we're through the peak of it as far as the dust is concerned.
Well, I'm assuming that the dust is also uh, fairly or highly reflective. And that's probably why when the sun is directly overhead, as you can see that on the loop here, when the dark or terminator line moves away, initially you can really see that broad area of dust, and then as the sun continues to move away to the west, it doesn't show up quite as well. It actually shows up a little bit better over portions of the Caribbean and over towards Central America toward
Yeah,
the end of the loop.
yeah. The uh, what was it yesterday or the day before? I mean, it was really milky out here in the Eastern Atlantic. It's not quite as bad uh, at the moment, but again, there's a lot of dry air. Uh, you'll notice throughout much of the subtropical Atlantic and points northward, except for what's off the east coast of the United States out toward Bermuda, there's hardly any convection going on. And the intertropical convergence zone is still, pretty much south of 10 degrees north. And, if you're going to get tropical cyclone development, you really want these tropical waves, like one that's about to come off the African coast, to come off, closer to 10 degrees north at least. And that one seems to be doing that. So we'll just we'll watch and see what happens when it gets into the more favorable zone by the end of the week, at which point we might see, something try to go. But again, I'm not particularly overly, you know, it's not rocking my boat. Let's put it that way at the moment. You have Thriller Jeopardy tonight?
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay, let's do it. We made it this far, and I haven't lost power yet, but I can hear things going on outside. So let's hope it holds on for a little while longer.
Okay, hang on for a moment. I said on Facebook today, by the way, that if there's anything to reincarnation, I'd like to come back as an air conditioner because you work 3 or 4 months out of the year and then you're off for the rest of the year. And some smart Alex said, yeah, and for 8 months you can sit with your butt out the window freezing.
Right, and then you have to have somebody change your filter.
Yes, indeed. All
Yeah.
right, so here's Briller Jeopardy discussing, and I guess we don't have too many more of these because um, July will be over with after tomorrow. But here we are on Briller Jeopardy, and we're discussing average highs in July for the following cities, starting with Philadelphia. Average high temperature in July, Joe.
I'm going to say 87.
Very close. In fact, you're in snake country with that.
Well, Kenneth Rosenberg says 88,
Nope.
and that means that Tyler
Oh,
Fienga
wait a
and
minute. Wait a minute. Wait, whoa, 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 whoa. Sorry about that. I don't know why I said nope. 88 is correct. It's a WCBS answer, isn't it?
yeah, I was going to say either 87 or 88. I decided to go with 87.
So they
Higher, higher.
they didn't. They did that on the old version with Bill Cullen of The Price Is Right, but they never really did it with Bob Barker or the
Well, the
guy
audience used to yell out, things.
higher, lower.
Higher, lower, lower.
How about Phoenix?
How about Phoenix? No, what did we say with Vegas yesterday was what, 105 or something?
Yeah,
Um, all right, so I'll say 107. Whoa! I did
100
it. I did it. I guessed
on
it
the nose.
correctly.
Isn't that amazing?
I know.
People,
I am amazing, aren't I?
yes, yes, you are. All right, so our next city of mention here is Richmond.
Richmond. Little tricky. Um, I'll say, oh, I'm gonna say 89.
A lot of people on the chat board said that, including the executive producer, Ruben Fairchild, who was not here yesterday at the start of the show, but
Right.
he is now. But 89 is a very, very good guess. So good, in fact, that if it were a snake, it would have bitten you and Ruben.
All right. So that means
Alan
that
Cooper, too.
well, Frank R said 90.
Frank R., guess what? You get the bell. 90 degrees for Richmond, Virginia. Now
Lovely.
let's take a look. Let's take a look at an unusual city, Rochester, New York.
Hmm. Rochester.
Rochester, boss.
I'll say, I'll say, I'll say 81.
Ooh, not quite snake country, but a good guess. A little on the low side, but a good guess.
Okay.
And
Wikipedia says 83. Frank
and guess
Scalera and Frank Scalera said 83.
and
And
guess
then,
what?
and
That's
Mike
80.
Waterhouse said 83.
That's it. That's the number, 83. And here is where the Olympics, the Summer Olympics are going to, the Winter Olympics or the Summer Olympics? It sounds more like the Winter Olympics. I think in 2032, Salt Lake City. And you wouldn't want to have the Winter Olympics now because it's much too hot in Salt Lake City.
Salt Lake City. 95?
Joe, you're amazing. You're just barely missing a lot of these.
Hmm. John Melander said 94.
John Melander, guess what? You win. I don't know what you win, but at least you win getting the correct temperature for Salt Lake City, 94. And the bonus city tonight, Joe, is Key West.
Oh, yeah, one of those places in the summertime where it's low 90s by day and it's low 90s by night.
Yeah.
Uh, um, the average high, I'm going to say, I don't know, 90, 92, 91,
Well,
92.
um, no,
All right.
a little bit on the warm side
Side,
for.
yeah. I was going to initially say 89, but
Hey,
John
Joe.
Melander says 91,
No.
and Rich Rothmansky says 90, so does Christinapedia.
Well, that would be Snake Country
And Mike Waterhouse and Norm Roberts say 89.
and there you go.
You know, I
There
was
you.
thinking about saying 89 because, you know, they are tech they do sit in the water, but you know, lately it's been where it gets up into the low 90s there on a regular basis, but you know, uh, I didn't go down that path today.
Executive producer Ruben Fairchild wants to know, why do I lose my voice each time he mentions Rochester?
Why does he lose his blue
Yeah, boss. Why do I lose my voice
uh
every time I say Rochester?
right. Um that was
Obviously,
from the Jack Benny program.
yes,
Correct.
yes. That is Rochester. Oh,
Okay.
Rochester. Yeah,
Well,
boss.
we managed to get through this without me losing power. So
Which is
that's
very good. Yeah.
yes, it is very good. So let's call it a night. Tomorrow I have to go, you know, down to Kennesaw to get a new set of clothes. Maybe I should give a call to Jed Clampett and see if I could borrow his Sunday best for
And you
this
see,
wedding.
now and the new clothes are for what now?
Well, they're for my daughter's wedding.
For your daughter's wedding. And guess what I'm going to be doing on Thursday?
You're getting your tux
Being
measured.
measured for a tux for
Yes,
my daughter's wedding. Folks, if this doesn't prove to you now that the two of us are joined at the hip, I don't know what
I
does.
know. Well,
That
my
amazing?
daughter, she wants me to wear a charcoal gray suit
Oh,
and
no. Executive producer Ruben Fairchild. Who is Jake Benny?
oh, Jake Benny. Oh, Google it. And it's Jack
Google.
Benny.
It's Jack Benny, not Jake Benny.
Oh, God.
Go on Google, Ruben, and go Jack Benny, comma, Rochester, and you'll get all your answers.
Tom, if I had suits left over from News 12, they would have gone in and out of style 4 times. Okay. I haven't worked at News 12 on a regular basis since 1996, and on an irregular basis since I think probably 2013. So, no. Um, I have a lot of, I stopped wearing suits. I was always, pants and a sport jacket. And so I've got all these sport jackets, and, you know, when we left, we both had to wind down our clothing allowances. Remember that? So I have
Yes,
I have all these sport jackets and you know shirts and things, but I don't have a suit. So my daughter wants me in a charcoal gray suit. And my daughter will get me in a charcoal gray suit. It's my last kid getting married, so I might as well spend a little money.
yes,
Okay. Um, Frozone 10. Who the heck is Jake Benny? Jack! Jack!
yeah.
Jack! Jack! The Joe and Joe Weather Show podcast is brought to you by Blue Chew. No, it's brought to you by Tempest by Weatherflow. Get the revolutionary Tempest weather system and join the fastest growing observing weather network on the planet. The links are pinned to the descriptor to this podcast. Use that coupon code, Joe Rayo.
2020, summer 2024.
And if you do, you will get
10% off. You won't get Jake Benny, but you will get 10% off.
oh yes. Um, for those of you who don't know Jake Benny, that was a time where you had stars like Off Red Skelton, um, you know, Johnny Gleason, uh,
Off Betty White.
right, Lulu Ball. Um, so anyhow, uh, okay, we're done. Have a great rest of your night, folks. We will see you tomorrow at 7:35 p.m. Eastern Time.
Good
Nighty
luck.
night. Thank you. Nighty night.